Needless to say, the San Diego Chargers were a surprise and a pleasant surprise at that in the 2013 season. Many people, myself included, did not expect very much out of the Chargers, and they were again a very pleasant surprise. They ended up going 9-7. They found a way to get into the playoffs, and once they did, they actually made some noise. They dominated Cincinnati pretty handily on the road in the wild card round, and then stuck a real tough game to the Denver Broncos in Mile High in the divisional round. So, optimism's kind of abound for the Chargers. It was a really surprising season last year, and there's hope for more of the same this year. Now, heading into the offseason, I wasn't sure that this team was going to do a whole lot in terms of major shakeups or changes, and was probably unlikely to go into a major spending spree, which was something they were notorious for doing under former general manager A.J. Smith, which what I mean is they wouldn't spend money consistently. And that's not always the right thing to do. And I will say this for general manager Tom Telesco is that maybe that wasn't the best course of action. You've got a solid team in place. Maybe you didn't need to go hog wild. Maybe you didn't need to make a bunch of big name free agent signings. Sometimes that's just not the best way to go. The key thing I think for the Chargers is that they really didn't lose anybody of any significance or any importance in this offseason. They did manage to bring in Donald Brown from the Indianapolis Colts. I'm not sure how much they really needed him, already having Ryan Matthews and Danny Woodhead in the fold in the backfield. But hey, it's another running back that could do multiple things, both running the ball and as a receiver out of the backfield. I'm sure it doesn't hurt, and it's a one-year deal, so it wasn't like it really hurt much of anything at all. They needed help in the secondary, so they drafted Jason Verrett, the corner out of TCU in the first round. They signed inside linebacker Cavell Connor away from the Indianapolis Colts. So they made some moves, nothing really splashy or sexy that's going to get a Chargers lightning bolt hard, if you will, but they didn't really lose anything either. Heading into 2014, some of the strengths of this team, I look at the running game. The aforementioned Ryan Matthews, Danny Woodhead, Donald Brown. That's a 1-2-3 combination at running back that probably definitely rivals any trio in the league. That's a trio that can do a lot of things, both on the ground and in the air as receivers. So that's a lot of talent for Philip Rivers to work with out of the backfield, a lot of security for him, a lot of protection for him. Obviously, a strength of this team is Philip Rivers, unquestionably a franchise quarterback. One of those quarterbacks you might put in the conversation of maybe being that fifth elite or maybe at least the fifth best quarterback in the National Football League. And he had a nice bounce back 2013 campaign on McCoy and Wisenhunt's offense. I also look at their defense and I look at the defensive line. I really like what they've got there with Leggett and Reyes. They've got a nice defensive line, in particular a nice pair of ends there in that 3-4. In terms of question marks for this team and things that might concern me in terms of whether or not this team might be able to take another step in 2014 or not, I look at their linebacking core. Really haven't gotten much out of Melvin Ingram. They never got anything out of Larry English, and of course now he's gone. They need more pass rush. It's just a gentle way of me putting it. They need more out of Manti Te'o, their second-round pick last year out of Notre Dame. They just need more out of the linebacking core. They need better play out of their inside linebackers, and they need better, more consistent pass rush from their outside linebackers. They need Melvin Ingram to come back from the knee injury and be strong and be raring to go right away. I still have questions about this secondary. You do have Eric Weddle, but sometimes I don't think Eric Weddle is all that great of a player. I still have concerns about their corners and just their depth in the secondary and talent level in the secondary as a whole. It's something that was a big weakness and area of concern for the team in 2013. It was exposed by the Broncos in the playoffs, and I don't think they've done much to really mitigate that in the offseason. I also have some concerns about this offensive line. The offensive line played surprisingly well compared to what I thought they were going to in 2013, but this is still a unit that I think, frankly, lacks some talent, and they're going to need to play above themselves, frankly, again in 2014 to open up the consistent holes in the running game and provide the decent pass protection for Philip Rivers once again, because as a statuesque pocket passer that is limited mobility to say the very least, he's not going to make his living with his feet. So you got to give him time. You got to protect him in the pocket and play to his strengths. Looking at their schedule for 2014, just like the rest of the AFC West, they've got the NFC West, they've got the AFC East, then their AFC conference games. They got Jacksonville and they got Baltimore. Anytime you have to go through the NFC West, that's not the easiest schedule. You look at a couple of key blocks of the schedule for the Chargers. I look right away at the beginning of the season, weeks 1 and 2. They go to Arizona and then they host Seattle. Those are two tough opponents you would think in theory right from the get-go. So they could potentially start off 0-2, and that's a bit of a hole, and that's not the type of hole you want to create yourself. Although for years the San Diego Chargers seem to make a living out of starting 0-2 or 1-3 and then finding a way to win 11, 12 games in a row and finish out the season with one of the best records in the AFC. But then you look at a 3-week stretch of schedule late in the season, weeks 14 through 16. They host New England, they host Denver, and they go to San Francisco. So those are 3 playoff teams from last year, 3 playoff teams from the year before, 3 of the 4 teams that represented their respective conferences in their conference championship games. So you've got a kind of brutal stretch right at the beginning of the year, the first 2 weeks, and then another brutal stretch late in the year. It's going to be really tough for the San Diego Chargers to sit there and, kind of make some hay, if you will, and, be able to finish the season out strong, which is something that they did last year. Some of their keys to success: they need improved play from their linebackers. Like I said, they need their offensive line to hold up well. They need somebody other than Keenan Allen on the outside as a wide receiver to step up and play well. They need more out of their secondary. Their secondary has been bad, and it's been an Achilles heel for years, and I think, frankly, it still is. If they want to be successful again, they're going to need it to be that way once again. They need it to be better, I should say. Ultimately, my prediction for the San Diego Chargers: I don't think this is a team that got a whole lot better. I don't think this is a team that necessarily got a whole lot worse. You look at their schedule, they got to play Seattle, San Francisco, Arizona, St. Louis, the New England Patriots, Denver twice, Kansas City twice. It's not an easy schedule. It's definitely not. But it's not one that the Chargers still can't do relatively well with. I expect them to be in second pretty much all year long in the AFC West, finish that way, win 8 games, probably more so 9. I think 9-7 is kind of a good ceiling for what the San Diego Chargers could do in 2014. If they do that again, they might very well find themselves in the hunt for the playoffs. And once they get to the playoffs, you never know what can happen. You can make some noise just like they did in 2013.